As somebody with ADHD, I would often feel stuck or overwhelmed trying to make the right decision. I really hated decision making, and maybe you relate. But what helped me was approaching things with an attitude of non-judgmental curiosity. It may sound a little bit woo-woo, but this is just a highbrow way of saying that it's a way to make decisions that align more closely with the life that you want to be living. It also helps you make the choices to help you be the person that you want to be. And one way to include non-judgmental curiosity in your day is with questions. So here are 6 of my favorite questions that I use to make better decisions all the time. If you're new here, hi, I'm Anna. I have a master's degree in neuroscience and cognition, and I have been clinically diagnosed with ADHD. I share research-based, down-to-earth tips or practical strategies that I've learned through lived experience that have really helped me as an ambitious ADHDer. My goal is that if you have big dreams and a lot of overwhelm, my tips will help you. But before we dive in, a quick disclaimer: I am not a clinician, I am not your therapist, and none of this is a replacement for therapy or professional advice. So please take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and leave your opinions. And if you know better, tell me in the comments about anything. I'm always keen to learn from you as well. Now let's dive in. The 6 simple questions I'm going to share with you today will nudge you on the right track when you're experiencing decision fatigue. They'll help you take a more curious and judgment-free approach rather than a toxic grind set that wants you to push through all the time, helping you to cultivate self-compassion without putting a limit on your potential. In short, this is a judgment-free way to live a more meaningful life. I'm also excited to share that a wonderful member of our community actually arranged all 6 of these questions on a free printable poster for you to download. So check that out in the description box below, and thank you, Juno, for your work in doing that. Now, these questions are just quick little tools that I like to keep in mind that I've learned from experience, but if you want something more structured and practical, then check out the video I made on what I learned about decision making, planning, and prioritizing in therapy after I was diagnosed with ADHD. Question 1. What would someone who loves themselves do? If you're struggling with self-care or you found yourself overcome with emotions that are really uncomfortable to experience, then ask yourself, what would someone who loves themselves do right now? You may be familiar with this question if you watched my video on 3 things to do when your mental health is slipping, and I included it there for a really good reason. This question can be a really practical way to nudge you towards self-compassion and kindness. People who love themselves don't often have to do something grand to be in alignment with self-compassion. It's often small, accessible acts of self-care and self-respect that build us up. And over time, these can make the biggest difference. Now, a follower on Instagram recently pointed out to me that somebody who is really struggling with their mental health or hasn't had a healthy modeling of self-compassion may not know what step to take in this instance and may have a hard time coming up with things. And that is why I've included a few examples. So, some tiny steps you can think of are taking a walk outside, having a sip of water, having a snack, lying down for 5 minutes, saying something nice to yourself that's really believable, or a slightly bigger step may be standing up to somebody after they have said something unkind to you. Even if you're not in a place where you truly love yourself, you can use your imagination and think, what would someone who loves themselves do? And I like to think of it like I'm acting in those moments, because acting is often more accessible to me than actually being. And it's not a great step, but it is a first baby step, and sometimes that's what you need. Question 2, and I need you to bear with me on how woo-woo this one sounds. We'll break it down, I promise. What would the highest version of myself choose? Don't worry, you do not have to be super spiritual or at all spiritual to get a benefit out of this one. What I mean by highest self is your most values-aligned self. This is the most fulfilled version of you, the version of you that is doing all the things that you want to do. You can think of your highest self as that girl or boy or person or whatever, the version of you that recognizes their potential and takes action, which is everything we stand for here. This is a great question to keep in mind when you are deciding how to spend your time. What would the highest version of myself choose? It's especially useful when you're facing a seemingly small dilemma like, should I go for a walk or should I scroll on Instagram? If I stop and think about that one, I know that my higher self would choose the walk most of the time. And these tiny choices add up over time. But you need to be careful because this one is not meant to push you into toxic productivity. The highest version of you also recognizes when to pause and rest so that you can live a sustainable anti-burnout life. This question is the key to living in alignment with your identity-based goals. And just a quick note here, if you want a video all about values and identity and the science behind that, then let me know in the comments. Question 3, a very practical one. What's one thing I could do that would make life easier for future me? If you're feeling overwhelmed when you see all the items on your to-do list, the game-changing question to ask is, what is one thing I could do that would help future me? Identifying this task, which doesn't have to be big and can really be just one thing, helps everything flow more smoothly when you have a backlog of tasks. This prevents even more things from piling up and causing more chaos and overwhelm, which we all want to avoid. And maybe that one thing to help future you is figuring out the easiest way to get the task done. We're now halfway through the list of 6 questions, so if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like. Okay, question 4. Which option aligns best with my values and my long-term goals? This is similar to making a decision that aligns with your higher self, but you can use this for bigger decisions around your lifestyle and habits, not just in the moment dilemmas. There's an idea I heard recently explained by Izzy Seeley here on YouTube, but I know she got it from somewhere else, I just can't remember where. Anyway, it basically says that there is always some form of suffering or difficulty, but we choose what that suffering or difficulty is. Let me explain with an example. Working out and exercising is really challenging. It can even be painful, and it feels, to a certain extent, sometimes like suffering. But that is the suffering I choose. If I didn't choose this suffering now, I would be choosing to suffer later when I am old and cannot act on my own and stand up on my own. This suffering that I choose now aligns with my values and my identity as somebody who is interested and cares about my health. This suffering aligns with my long-term goals of strength and longevity. If I do not choose the suffering of working out now, then I am indirectly choosing the suffering later. Either way, I'm making a choice. Build strength now and suffer through the temporary pain, or experience frailty and injury when I'm older. I highly recommend reflecting on what your values are before you take this question on in too big of a sense. I recently revisited my own values and how they've shifted over the last few years since I first did therapy until now. And now I'm much more focused on health, connection, and compassion than I have been in previous years where I was more focused on productivity and achievement. Becoming directly aware of what my values are now has helped me make more aligned choices. Question 5. Am I avoiding rest, or do I truly not need it yet? If you're debating between pausing to take a break and pushing through on a task or project because you're nearly there or because you really need to keep going, I want you to ask yourself, am I avoiding rest because I feel guilty or because I truly don't need it yet? This helps you make a choice that you won't regret later, whether that is carrying on or whether that is taking a break so you can work more sustainably. Early in 2025, I made a post on Instagram titled When to Pause and When to Push, and that seemed to resonate with a lot of people. So here are some of the tips that I covered in that post. Before anything else, check in with yourself. Have you eaten today? Have you eaten in the last 4 hours? Have you had a glass of water today? Have you had any water to drink in the last 1 hour? Have you intentionally moved your body today for a total of 30 to 90 minutes? Keyword there is intentional movement. It really makes a difference when you mean to do it. If you answer no to any of these questions, please take a break and go and meet some of your body's needs. This will help you refuel and shake things out a bit, and yes, please go to the bathroom. Now check on the type of resistance that you're experiencing. If you are mentally or physically exhausted, then it is really time to take a break. If you're resisting the task because you feel bored or overwhelmed, then you may need to reframe it and try a different approach. If you want some more direct tips on that specifically and the science behind it, then check out the description below where I have linked my post on the novelty versus rest dilemma. Now let's say you decide that rest is best. If it is the evening, please call it a day and start unwinding and having a chill evening and getting ready for bed. If you need a midday break, then take 10 to 30 minutes to do something that will actually recharge you. This could be something like a 20-minute power nap, a 10-minute walk, a little dance party, or some light reading. And question 6, what is one small action I can take to build momentum? If you're feeling unmotivated and you don't know where to begin, ask yourself, what is one small action I can take to build momentum? Most of this time, this question helps me figure out how to just get started. Starting is often more difficult than carrying out the task, but selecting and taking action on one small thing will make your life a lot easier. Even the tiniest action like starting the dishwasher or opening the document can really help. This starts the chain reaction of productive momentum. And if you've seen any of my other videos, this brings us back to the impact of small wins that make a big difference, and the necessity of breaking down tasks into accessible, clear steps. The trick is usually to take the smallest step necessary to just get going. You can make it good later. And if you made it to this point in the video, I would love to hear from you which of these 6 questions resonates with you the most, or what is one question you would add to the list that you have found helpful in your own life. Remember that these questions are not about perfection, they are about acting with intention and self-compassion in the moment. And of course, you can grab the free printable of all 6 questions in the description box down below. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and as always, stay curious, stay connected, and turn your potential into action.